really seeing the excitement of the players, right? Backstage, even when they lost, right? Like, this was a ton of fun. I want to do this again, right? Like, there's only one winner there, right? But despite that, the vast majority of them all had fun.
I think for Worlds, what this does is it validates why we've been playing the game for so long.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another amazing episode of the Third Shield Pokemon Go PvP podcast. Today, I have not only two amazing battlers, but also now known as shoutcasters from the Europe International Championship, Caleb, Peng, and Zyonik himself. They coming onto our podcast. Welcome back, Zyonik. Welcome back, Caleb. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Always a good time being on your podcast. So I think this is our third time now?
Yeah.
Or maybe my third time. I don't know if you, because I think I did a solo one first, right? You might have
that's right. Too. That's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's my third too. I think you and I did
yeah.
one a while back, long time ago, like kind of back when GBL first started, kind of back in there. But yeah, good to be back. Happy to see you.
Yeah, I'm so excited now. And guys, the reason why I'm very excited is because the last time you guys were in the podcast, it was the time when everybody was saying that Go Battle League Esports, we wish for it, we hope for it. And anytime we said esports, our fingers went up just like this. And we were hoping for the best, that it's actually gonna happen. And then here, and I should look up when was the last time when you guys were on, maybe 6 months, or actually it was more, because we didn't know anything about Worlds yet. So it was probably a year ago. But now we are here. You actually experienced it firsthand. So when they announced it and when you got approached, you don't have to tell me when, I don't know if that, but when you got approached and when they announced it, what went through your mind as far as like, did we make it? Are we getting there? Or was it like gimmicky? Or how did you guys feel? Let's just start with that.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I felt excited about it because I knew that for the Europe International Championships, that would be the first one that's ever being streamed for Pokemon Go. So that was going to be a lot of hype, right? Because I figured it would be the first time. So there's also a lot of pressure on us as casters because it's our first time showcasing it to our community as well as other people that haven't played the game. But overall, like, the behind the scenes was great. You know, they planned everything. It was pretty stress-free in terms of like travel, getting there and everything like that set up. They were very professional. They had like a bunch of people working on deck. But yeah, it was very exciting too. It was really keeping it in and not telling people was the big thing. So I think they didn't announce until like 2 days before the event. And I was like, dude, like, am I about to announce I'm there like when I'm ready in Germany, or like how long is it going to take? But they eventually announced it too, which was nice. And we were able to just kind of just share with the whole world.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to hear that news, because that's what I was hoping for. It's what we experienced for anyone that was playing in 2019. The community atmosphere, going to events and tournaments, because we had the Soph Arena. So getting that back is exactly what I think the community needs. I think a majority of battlers nowadays only know Go Battle League, so their experience is playing from home. But I honestly think this game, while you can play at home, I think it's meant to be experienced with other people. So at tournaments for PvP, the atmosphere is so much better than just playing, at home. So once we got word that we were doing it, we got word, quite a while before we actually went. So holding it in was a tough one, because I just wanted to let everyone know. But yeah, the event itself was amazing. Like Caleb said, it was very smooth. We basically just had to show up. That was it. Everything else was taken care of. We had to show up, sit down, and talk. Everything else was handled. I think everyone there had a wonderful time too, because the event itself was huge. There was a lot to do outside of just doing your battles. So when you had downtime, lunch breaks, or maybe you were knocked out of the tournament, there was plenty of other things to do. I think they had Nintendo Switches set up so you could go play Unite, or you could go play the video games. You had side tournaments so you can win prizes. I know Azure and I in Liverpool for that regional tournament, as we said, hustled the Pokemon company to get free prizes from doing tournaments. So the atmosphere itself, I think, is worth it. So if there's any tournaments that are coming up that you're thinking about going, go. And then for next year, if you can't go this year, watch what happens this year, and then be sure to go next year to something that you can get to. It would be my advice.
Guys, the holding it in, I have to share this super quick. It's because Speedios Chief 2 was there as well, and I picked up Speedios Chief 2 from the airport maybe a week before or something like that from the from Frankfurt. And I just had a podcast with Alfindil, amazing content creator, and he's in the internal group of Niantic, for feedbacks. So he gets feedbacks from Niantic, he gives feedbacks to Niantic, and he was telling me that he believes that the Pokemon Play company is scared and won't hire Pokemon Go players to shoutcast on these tournaments because we are too wild, right? With Zyonik with the big booms, and I'm just kidding. He didn't say that like that, but he said
I
that
sent him.
that the Play Pokemon is probably will not hire their own people. So on the way, when I picked up, and I'm thinking back, I'm just dying because I picked up Speedy at the airport and lives about 30-40 minutes away from the airport. So all the way through the ride, I was telling Will, Speedy, that, hey, yeah, so I think that it's gonna suck, because they're never gonna hire shoutcasters from Pokemon Go and all that. I was going off the whole time like that, and he not once slipped. He didn't say that he's one of them or anything like that. The whole time you can see there's something wrong with him, right? He want to explode basically, and I was like, "Are you okay?" I even asked him. But anyway, so I just wanted to bring this up because holding it in must have been really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
we didn't even know we were casting together for a while too.
Oh, so nobody knew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't until,
we
maybe a week or two or something. But
yeah,
I was like, oh, I'll be in Germany. You'll be in Germany too. He's like, yeah. I was like, oh,
yeah. So
interesting.
we're doing our podcast, and I'm going, Caleb, are you going to Germany during the podcast? He's like, yeah, I'll be there. I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, he's going to travel to Europe to compete. It's pretty serious. At that time, I knew I was shoutcasting. But at that time, I didn't know who I was shoutcasting with. I was just brought on, and then they said they'll let us know the team and stuff later on. So meanwhile, Caleb and I are both like, yeah, we'll be there, blah, blah, blah. And then we find out, we get brought into the group and we find out that we're both doing it together. We're like, oh my gosh, it makes sense.
That's hilarious. That must have been so much fun afterwards.
Yeah.
I just told him ahead of time to be in Germany so we could get that lucky trade done,
Yeah.
That's awesome. And with this one, so this was an international one, but was it, I forgot to ask, but was it limited spots, meaning there was a cap because of the reasons, or was just not as many registrants because it was just out of the blue super quick?
Yeah, so all of them do have caps. Liverpool definitely didn't meet the cap. Neither did Frankfurt, and neither did Indianapolis. So I think, but there was always a venue cap, right? And if you look at some of the other regions, I think Australia and a lot of Latin America countries, they all had caps that were very low, so they would hit it pretty quick. It was 17 was Australia or something, and then it was 24 for Latin American countries. I think a lot of them have expander caps, but it was the first time we've ever hit a cap in either Europe or North America this past week for Columbus. So I don't know if you all saw on Twitter, but it was first wave 15 minutes, all tickets gone. Second wave, a minute. Third wave, a minute, and they literally filled up. Because they unfortunately are limited by venue capacity as well as the amount of phones they have, right? Because they have to have you use a specific phone there. You don't use your own. So unfortunate, especially for Latin America and Australia, regionals, really unfortunate because their cap sessions are so small. But also unfortunate for people in North America too that want to go to the big Columbus North America International Championships. But hopefully the Pokemon company is paying attention and are okay, maybe next time around we expand, because they have a little bit more spots for VGC, the main series game, and TCG, the trading card game. So hopefully after this time around, they'll take note of that and be like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of people really looking forward to this. And because those VGC and TCG, they sell in a minute as well, for their regionals. So to see that we can already match that level of excitement and participation within a few regionals is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say, I'm gonna go on that. Well, I was talking to people at Liverpool and Frankfurt and why they thought there wasn't as many people. For reference, Liverpool had 64 and Frankfurt, I believe, had 92. So definitely it was still a decent size, but not anywhere near what we're capable of in terms of our community. And I had the same thought, and this is why I told everyone. Everyone's so hesitant because of the state that the game has been in for the last year or two, and they don't know about in-person tournaments and what it's about, and there was no information really pushed. Like, people did not know about it, period. I was telling people, I'm like, hey, you tuning into the European International Tournaments this weekend? They're like, what is that? So I think it's just a snowball going downhill. Once we got the community traction going, we saw Liverpool, we saw Germany, we saw Indianapolis. Now it's like the cat's out of the bag in a Caleb Peng sense. And, and people are aware, people are excited, because one thing I will say is PvP, the experience of battling in terms of facing an opponent, is dramatically different in person than it is from Go Battle League, because you're on the same phones right next to each other with the same Wi-Fi. So the technical issues aren't as present as it would be if you're just battling from home with random phones and random internet connections. So.
Yeah, very good point with that. And guys, I wanted to bring this up. I should have started the whole stream with this, to congratulating you guys for literally blowing the numbers out of the water, because just like you guys said, there was no promotion. The first one you guys did in Frankfurt, there was no promotion. So Niantic never shared it in the game. They didn't retweet it or anything like that. The only promotion was basically, and it wasn't even YouTube, right? Was the first one on YouTube or no? The Frankfurt one.
They were. They was on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Okay,
oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay. I know the second one for sure, Columbus. I mean, Indianapolis. I just wasn't sure on the first one on Frankfurt. But to get back to that, the numbers were better than TCG, and it was super close to VGC, right? Yeah, VGC, which is pretty amazing for no in-game advertisement, no blog post, no nothing from Niantic. And I just wanted to add, I did a test. So I also did the same thing as what you said, Zyonik, that you went out and asked people if they're gonna tune in, they're gonna do this, do that. And while it was already live, I sent out links to the groups on Discord and my friends that I go raid hours with too, and that kind of stuff. And the raid hours, we actually get about 100 people every single Wednesday when we do the raid hours. So we have a pretty big group in here in Tampa for raiding, and not one of them watched it and knew about it. Not one.
Oh, man.
From the yeah, and that's just one little town. If you compare the whole world, Tampa, Florida, with 100 people in there that could have tuned in and watched it. And once I told them, they were like, "Oh my God, how can I register?" That was their second question. So it was pretty cool. And now we've seen it. The second time when Indianapolis happened, the numbers tripled. So and that's pretty amazing. So I cannot wait to see Columbus. I just wanted to add to that because you guys absolutely killed it, and the interest now is there, because even when it was a downtime, you guys were able to talk it up, you know what I mean? So even at the times where we were like stalling, everything was good. I really enjoyed it, and you guys were absolutely amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and the battlers obviously made it very interesting as well too. You know, I think especially the Indianapolis one, like you got in the finals, it's Iomero and King, and King, you know, recessed the winner's bracket and then comes back 3-0 for the reverse sweep after going down 0-2. Like, and Iomero played amazing too, but like that kind of ending to a big event like that is just like, that's like the perfect ending, right? And I think when you see the excitement of the crowds and everything, and everyone Twitch chat, you know, cheering on, you know, their favorite competitors, I think that's where it really peaked. I was excited watching it. I wasn't even there. I was at a wedding in Chicago, and I was just like watching it on the side as much as I could, because I was missing out on the event. But yeah, it's awesome. I think, you know, the battlers and everyone participating, all the photos you see on Twitter as well is huge, because there's just more to the game than just GBL, right? And there's more to the game than just battling from your couch at home, you know, random people.
Yeah, and to go on top of the skill from the battlers, I think what that also does is shows the rest of the people who ever tune in, whether they're just a casual Pokemon Go player or they're a TCG player or whatever. I mean, when we were on break, in a sense, from shoutcasting in Europe, we sat with the production team to help them out with graphics and stuff, help them analyze which Pokemon are on the field very quickly and stuff like that. And we also had Twitch chat up, or at least I did. And you could see people come in who were making fun of the game that's just tap, 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 you know, whatever. And then you see their comment about 10 minutes later after a series happened, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is intense. Because there's a persona, I think, out there because of how gym battles are, or raids. You just kind of tap your screen mindlessly. There's no strategy. It's just tap, tap, tap. But I think once people understand it at the quality and skill that we have from our community in these tournaments, along with the production and the casting crew and everything gets wrapped all together, it's actually an amazing experience, and it turns people's perspectives that this is actually a cool feature of the game they should probably try out.
Yeah, it's so crazy. You know, I saw that too in Twitch chat, that so many people came in and, oh, it's the tap 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 game. You know, everybody said that. Even on YouTube videos, so many comments are like that. And you know, people coming in and even when they jump in and try Go Battle League, who never tried it before, and they come from BGC, for example, then for them, when they first start, it becomes easy because they know let's say the typings at least, right? So the very first battles are gonna be obviously easy, so they think, oh, I just tapped and I just killed the opponent. This is boring. But yeah, at the highest level, especially when people king and everybody at the tournament, when they were counting the actual moves and energy, and then who was that? I think it was who did I think?
In Germany, Inadequate's Nazare Sac Swap.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was calculated. It wasn't luck at the same time. Of course, you have to tap and everything. There's some luck in it, but it was all calculated. And the other thing is, at the same time, they were also mentioning that the way that he actually accounts is basically, you know, 4, 8, and then subtracts and divides whatever, like how much energy he used and how much is remaining. Depends on the moves instead of counting the actual moves. Does that make sense? And I'm like, dude, that's like really high level if you look at it that way, behind the scenes, that nobody actually really knows who's just tuning in. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as for you guys and the game, so the current state of the game, of course, in an interlude season, what do you guys think? What obviously it killed off the mood, kind of, you know, on online and views and all that kind of stuff. And the one thing that's really saving it is, of course, Worlds and all the competition going on live, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm very excited for the next season. But what do you kind of expect out from this season going into the next season? And what do you actually hope it's going to happen? Or like almost like your hopes versus reality is what I'm like guessing here.
You want to take away this one?
Sure. It's like, you go for it. So obviously, I hope some of the in-game issues in terms of the fast moves and other stuff that they have on their known issues page is resolved. The fact that it's been 3 months, basically near 3 months, and it hasn't been like fully fixed does raise some alarms, right? That they've had all this time to do it. But then again, the game is, in my opinion, has been a bit better recently. I think just learning my own phone, I can't do all 5 sets. If I sit down and do all 5 sets in a row, sets 3 to 5 are terrible, but the first 2 aren't. So I've done bursts to let my phone just cool down or whatever's happening. I'm not a very technical person, but I know if I do bursts, it's a bit better. For the new season, I hope there is some kind of shakeup, because we've technically had somewhat of 6 months of the same meta, outside of Community Day Pokemon coming in or event Pokemon coming in, so it's been relatively the same. At the same time, I don't want it to change so dramatically that Worlds is a completely different thing, but that also would be kind of welcoming, because I can tell you 4 out of 6 Pokemon in every team that's going to be at Worlds right now. So, you know, I'm hopeful, but I guess I'm always a glass half full kind of guy anyways, so I'm always hopeful that it'll get better.
Yeah, I think similar note to, I mean the people that work on Niantic are working on this. They want to make the game smooth. They want to fix it. They're not like just dragging their feet trying to not do it, right? I think the problem is just more complex than I think we can imagine, which is why it's taking a while. But for me personally, I don't even need them to like change any of the mechanics or do anything really weird with like the charge moves or whatever, like it doesn't even have to be anything different. I think it just, as long as you fix the baseline and make everything stable, I think that will make most players happy and maybe excited to be back in the game. I know a few players that have retired or quit the game because of the inconsistencies that they're experiencing, and some of it might be localized to, you know, not having a lot of fast Wi-Fi connections, stuff like that. Yeah, hopefully they just, in my opinion, I hope they just stabilize and minimize some of the bugs too. It's a little, I'm hopeful, but I'm also a little concerned because they did take a couple months, it was like 3 months or so for interlude season. And if it doesn't get fixed, you know, then the pitchforks are coming out, right? So that's where it gets a little uncomfortable. And I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that for both the sake of our game as well as the employees at Niantic and just for everyone in general. But you know, it is the promise that they made us, or you know, so hopefully there is something to show for it.
Yeah, to add on to that, I would love to see some type of communication of an update at the end of the season or at the start of the new season, because if they did a dev diary, they're doing the interlude season, you know, we're actively working on fixing the game, and if season 12 starts, a week or two goes by and there's nothing, we're all gonna, I can't put enough sprinkles to stop the pitchforks coming through, because I'll be like, what? Come on, guys, like communication, like tell us what you did, like what has been fixed, what are you still working on, blah, blah, blah. But I'm hopeful. I think they are aware of that. Having a line of communication to them myself, they care and they are aware. But I've definitely harp on them to communicate more, especially I've really pushed them when we were in Germany. I got to do community day with Michael. I really pushed to him that Niantic needs to get, and Pokemon Go needs to get behind these tournaments and let people know. And I think we saw a lot more presence on social media about Indianapolis when that happened. I saw a lot more tweets coming from Pokemon Go. Hey, tune into this, go check this out. And congrats to King. I think they did congratulate him. So it's cool to see that they're starting to understand that. So hopefully they keep on that trend. They give us an update. We see some fresh new things for the new season to get excited for. New cups, new moves, updates, what have you, the usual thing we're used to. And then I think we'll just go from there.
Worlds is coming. So what do you guys think? Worlds, in case you guys don't know who is listening right now, guys, or watching, Worlds is basically the event that we've been waiting for since King IV and Poke AK faced off like what, 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago in DC?
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yeah,
so three,
yeah, almost
okay.
3 years ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that was just like a demo even. So this is like the real deal, the real tournament that we've been waiting for. So what do you guys think? What does that actually mean to Pokemon Go and as far as Pokemon Esports for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. Anytime you put something on a big stage, international stage like that, that's amazing, especially on par with the other play Pokemon games, right? With the DCG and TCG, and you know, I think Pokken as well, and Pokemon Unite. Like that's a huge event, especially in London. You're flying these world's competitors out to London to do it. I mean, I think a lot of people tuned in even to that Poke AK versus King, and there's a bunch of other like content creators they invited as well to that Worlds in DC, because that was like the first time we're showcased like that. So I think it definitely is a good thing for the game. I would say that. And I think honestly, part of it feels like sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit, because if you're a new person watching the game, you're not going to know what a sneak fast move is, or deny, or desync, or all this stuff, right? Like a one-turn desync, you're not going to notice that unless it's severe lag issues or glitches. You're not really going to notice that. And I think we're at the point at the state in the game where almost like every player that's been playing for a while pretty much recognizes what those things are, right? Like I think when PvP first came out, it was so foreign to everyone that like you want to pick up on this little inconsistency. So like some people say like, oh, like game's been getting worse. Part of it might be true, but part of it might be just that the player base is getting more knowledgeable, so they notice every little blemish in the game. And I think it's tough when you're watching these streams and you see people like talking bad about the game, right? When it's like the littlest things. I think sometimes people also harp a little bit too much on issues, in my opinion, when it doesn't make a difference. Like that's one of my personal pet peeves is when you're in a match and someone's complaining about like, oh my gosh, like they snuck this or they like, denied this move. I was like, it doesn't matter. You're Altaria against a Bastion. Like you're not going to win that, right? So I think like sometimes people just need to like relax a little bit, right? And try to like enjoy the game for what it is. It's no game is perfect, right? Including Pokemon Go. But I do hope that people, hopefully try to work around that mindset. Of course, I can't police how people react to those things, but I think that's something to be mindful of when we do see these big events. I think one good example is Zyonik and Butters was actually casting this in EUIC, but it was Tho's first matchup against Ares, and there was major lag, and looking back on it, I forgot I was talking to Zyonik or someone else, or maybe Speedy or Butters, but I was like, you know what? That was actually probably the best situation to have that bad lag, and that's like a weird way to phrase it, but in that matchup, like Tho literally had 0 win conditions no matter how he played it. You could play that 1,000 times over and there's no way he wins that. So it's almost better that it happened in a game that was inconsequential. Obviously a lot of people were up in arms and stuff, and I get it, but that's something just always think in mind, just like kind of look at like the bigger picture here, right? There's going to be glitches here or there, but I don't think it should be enough to be like, I'm just going to quit the game or I'm going to be upset for the rest of the day, right? And I mean, that does happen from time to time, but it's just something to keep in mind, I think.
Yeah, I think that I remember that was the first battle of day 2. So we're starting fresh in the morning, hype stream. We just had an amazing day 1, and it's just the hardest white ball lag city. And I'm sitting there, and I don't remember the team comp because I was so kind of flustered by the lag and being able to control what I say and how I present this situation in a neutral manner, I should say. But sitting down with Tho, like you said, I sat down with Tho that night for dinner, and he told me he had no win con. So, and it makes sense that he just said, yeah, just go ahead and take that. But I think for Worlds, what this does is it validates why we've been playing the game for so long, because we finally have an opportunity to be on the big stage along with, I mean, this Pokemon Championships has been happening for like 10 plus years, 12, like it's been happening since I think early 2000s or mid 2000s. And obviously the trading card game's been in it and the video VGC's been in it, and then other games have come on. But the fact that Pokemon Go and it's kind of its debut blew past like their number 2, their Robin when it comes to Batman and Robin on their events. Pokemon Go is like number 2 slot right now about in terms of viewership. Which is really cool to see. So I hope more eyes see it, gets people to go, oh wow, okay, Pokemon Go does have PvP, I'll try it out. And it just cascades down to everyone, to content creators, to communities, to everything. It just validates that we've been practicing and playing and enjoying this game for a reason, and now we have a stage to showcase the best in the world on and cheer them on. So that's what I think Worlds hopefully will do for us.
Yeah, and I'm thinking out loud, we had such a growth in viewership and player base in Go Battle League when it came out, just to hit Legends. And we see that each season when the season starts, the hype is real. Everybody's is fighting to hit that Legend. Once we hit it, it dies down, right? Yeah. So now we have something, it literally does. And now we have something else to look forward to, which is basically Worlds and to qualify and all that. So now the content will be different as well, because people are going to look for that. I want to get there and compete. And then once they actually find out there's cash prize involved in this, which is, what is Worlds cash prize? Is it like, I thought it was like 50 grand or something, or am I remembering wrong? Or it was something like that, right? For the first place?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of money in it. I don't know the exact number, but it also depends on player size.
Yeah. And
so
we can look this up, but it's big. Let's just call it that for Pokemon.
It's big. Like Aries in Europe won $5,000 for first place
for qualifying. That wasn't even the championship.
That wasn't even championship. He just won $5,000 for qualifying on top of like, I want to say roughly 90 packs of the whatever cards are out, which is a sizable amount.
Yep.
On top of getting his flight and hotel paid for, like $5,000 is no joke for and then that's just a regional, or it was an international, but it was a prerequisite tournament or pre-qualifying tournament for Worlds, and Worlds is going to have a bigger prize pool, I think.
Yeah, I have the numbers actually, so I looked it up.
Okay,
in total, it's over 50,000 for like all the competitors, but it's 25,000 for first place dollars, and then 15,000 for seconds, 7,500 for third through fourth, 17th through 32nd place is 1,500. So honestly, if you get swept, you still make 1,500 off of that trip, you know. So it kind of pays for itself.
And first place, that's like some people's yearly income. That's kind of insane. So
that's esports worthy right there. First year, by the way, first year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Think about NBA. Every kid when they're growing up, or NFL, they want to become basically the football stars or the NBA stars, right? As they're growing up and they play it. So now here, when they see that there is like a pro scene of Pokemon Go, all the people who are coming into the game who are kind of competitive will be like, oh, I can make a living with this? Or, well, you know, I'm a little bit exaggerating here, but you guys probably see and hear what I'm trying to say here. But now we're gonna have, let's just put it this way, we're gonna have more interest and more things to fight for towards to, because everybody gonna able to become Ash Ketchum unless you're a GOAT. But Ash Ketchum is what I'm going for, but I'm not gonna probably, it's, you know, further out. But that brings me to my next question, which is you two guys, what are you guys planning on doing now that we know we're on the right track to become a professional gaming organization, I guess I should call it that. Which route will you pursue in the future with Pokemon Go and, you know, with what you're doing currently?
Before I get into that, I gotta correct myself. I was actually reading the numbers for the trading card game. So they don't actually have it on their website, which is unfortunate, but they have the numbers for the trading card game, the main series game, and Pokken for the prize pool for World. So to be determined, you know. But I'm sure it's going to be sizable.
It'll be
similar.
I mean, if Aries won like 5,000 at Europe, like for an international championship, like for Worlds, it's got to be even more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, to answer your question, for me personally, you know, I think when I started playing Pokemon Go, I had the mentality of like, I want to be the best. I want to be, you know, I want to be that world champ, or I want to place like really high. And that was my initial drive. But over time, you know, making YouTube videos and, you know, coaching some of my patrons and stuff, it's gotten to the point where that's no longer like my dream goal anymore. You know, like it'd be cool to be a world champ one day, but I don't think that's like my end goal anymore, right? Or to be the top player. I think making content that people enjoy and also helping other players get better through my videos or through, you know, my strategy guides or Discord or stuff like that. I think that is much more satisfying. I've had a lot of like my patrons and people I know that just started the game in GBL like 4 or 5 seasons in, you know, or like just last season, and they'll hit legend, maybe not on the first time around, but the second time around, right? Or the third time around. They're like, I've never done this before, and all of a sudden they hit it, right? Which is a huge accomplishment because you know, even though a lot of people hit legend, it's still not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially if you start out. So to see that kind of growth, and sometimes I'll battle them and they'll just completely destroy me, and I'm like, wow, I was like, I've been playing for years, right? But you know, I feel no shame in losing there. It's awesome to see that, and they're excited too and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that level of excitement and kind of bring people up for the game. You know, it was one of my favorite moments of casting in Europe, was really seeing the excitement of the players, right? Backstage, even when they lost, right? Like, this was a ton of fun. I want to do this again, right? Like, there's only one winner there, right? But despite that, the vast majority of them all had fun, right? Being a part of that experience. And I think that is something that means a lot to me. And I think that's probably will take away from it. Personally speaking, more casting opportunities, great. I'd be down for it if they're inviting me to those. But even if not, it's just good to see more people feel excited about the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same route as Caleb. When I started, I wanted to be the best. I didn't do well in my first Sylph tournament. I was like 3-2, but then my second one, I think it was called
Twilight
Cup. I went 5-0, and I went 5-0 and had a ton of fun. And I was just like, all right, I'm gunning for Worlds for Sylph Arena. But what kind of changed for me, and I did coaching at the time too. DeFi Stephanie, who was shoutcasted Indianapolis. She was one of my first patrons. Like, I've known her for years. Yeah, and to see her develop as a battler and then do content creation and live streams and then shoutcast a tournament, it's like, that's how cool this community is. We all kind of start on our own journey and just go along the way, but along the way we're all helping everyone that we can. So that's kind of how I started. I want to win, I want to be the best, and I still perform at a high level, or I try my best to still perform at a high level. I did coaching, and then once my children were born, I had to step back from coaching. And I think the big switch for me was experiencing Buenos Aires, the regional tournament with King and Trainer Tips. I had a lot of fun shoutcasting that tournament, and then I had fun shoutcasting Sylph Arena, Chicago, and Dortmund. So that became my thing. So I thought, maybe I'll shoutcast people who submit me their battles for Go Battle League. And then I have a ton of fun doing that. So obviously a goal of mine would be to continue to have opportunities to shoutcast tournaments, because I think I have a lot of fun doing that, and I think I do well for the community. But if Europe was my one and done kind of thing, that was a memorable event. So I think going forward, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing, making content, shoutcasting fun battles, helping out patrons in my Discord. I don't do direct coaching, but I post the teams that I run and answer questions and stuff like that. So I think it'll just keep doing what I've been doing and just having fun along the way.
It makes perfect sense, and I love both of your perspective on this, and it's really cool to see, because again, last time we were here, we were hoping for esports. Now we're at esports, so the question is, what's next, right, after this? Because we're just scratching the surface, and then you guys are already making it pretty good, right? Meaning, what I mean, making it pretty good is like everybody knows your name in the industry because you are one of the heads, or the heads of the industry, I should say, and now we're here. So now this opens up the doors to go here. So to see that and be part of it and see you guys going there, that's super exciting for me, at least. I cannot wait to see where it's all going. But Zyonik, did you ever think that we have a chance? And again, I'm a little bit exaggerating here, but do you ever think that you had a chance of thinking that Pokemon Go, basically, one, is going esports, just like, or I shouldn't say before Unite, but like as Unite did, and become a next esports, and you feel like you are League of Legends esports, even though that's not true because it's way bigger, but you getting what I'm trying to say, like a real actual organization as esports. Did you think that you ever gonna be part of something like this, or were you just hoping for it?
I think when I first started, back in January of 2019, I remember talking to my wife, because she came to London with me for the tournament. After the tournament, on the way back, I was like, if this ever takes off, this is going to be amazing. So I think I always dreamed that what we're kind of going through now, was possible. The opportunity was there, the potential was there, but I knew it was probably not probable. So dreamed that it was possible, likely not probable, which is how you gotta approach it. You gotta, shoot for the stars, and if you land on the moon, then you land on the moon. So yeah.
And now one thing I wanted to ask you guys before we wrap this up, because I know we're going for a while, but I enjoy talking to you guys because I always learn so much, and it's fun because you guys are so excited about the game and the future of it, just like me. And I think everybody else who's listening and watching right now too. But what I was gonna ask is, so the future of Go Battle League, and when I'm talking future, I'm talking like future. And the question for that is, Because we know Niantic is all about VR, right? Virtual reality and the glasses and all that. And we know that they're working on some sort of a glasses for virtual reality. So the question that I have, and this is, again, guys, we are just totally guessing here. But what I'm thinking is, do you think it's possible in the future, not next year, not the following year, maybe 5 years from now, but do you think it's possible it's going to be the real life Ash Kitchen experience as far as we go into an actual stadium, you put on the glasses, and the battling is happening right in front of you inside of a stadium and you're calling out the next moves?
I feel like that would be Niantic's dream situation. I mean, I'd be cool with that if they make that work somehow. It could be interesting. I think for the competitive players, the visual is not as important as maybe Niantic would care about, you know, for AR stuff. That would be cool, right? I think that'd be a really cool experience. I do think that after a time, like, that might just be common day, like the excitement will wear off on that thing itself. But if they make it interesting, like, hey, you go into the stadium, you have like an hour to catch a bunch of Pokemon through AR or something, or like virtual reality, and then you get to use it like in the tournament, then that could be really cool, right? Because then you're actually like out on the hunt for it. Obviously, there's a lot of limitations for that, especially because not everyone's able-bodied, and that could bring in some, you know, physical barriers there. But I think that kind of stuff will make it more interesting. You know, I think because it was just like when I guess when the game first came out in 2016, like I was catching on like AR mode all the time, right? And eventually you're like, oh, you know, the Pikachu down the street is not near as exciting anymore because now you see it like all day long, right? So eventually that hype will wear off. I think from it's a nice aesthetic for sure. I definitely think so. I think it would be cool at first, but for me personally, I just want the game to run well. I want to be creative in terms of how the battles go. And if they could do some virtual reality AR thing along the way, like, great, you know, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I think Pokemon Go has always been a game where it wants to integrate with your daily life. That's the whole point. On your walk to work, you go to the park with the family, what have you, Pokemon Go goes with you. So when it comes to tournaments and stuff like that, if that is how our daily life kind of thing is like we're used to going to a stadium to watch a tournament, we all have glasses on and that's just kind of how it is, then maybe Pokemon Go integrates that way. But I think like Caleb said, I think we're more into it for the mental strategy rather than the graphics. But I think Pokemon Go for sure down the line in, you know, 5 years, whatever plus, the integration into our daily lives will be a lot more fluid when we don't have a phone anymore and it's more of a device that we wear, just, you know, glasses, that kind of integration, hands-free stuff. That would be fun to see the Pokemon out. I think that would be a whole new experience. You're just walking by and there's like a Bulbasaur that kind of crawls out of the bush or whatever. One thing that I think would be fun, I think since we're all fans of the game and we play it, Pokemon Unite, I always thought that'd be interesting to see the battlefield on, like, if you're on a basketball court, right? You have the battlefield on the basketball court. So you can sit in the stands and watch all the lanes happening at once. So it's like miniature Pokemon. That I think could be more realistic when it comes to the battles. Just because of the nature of how Pokemon Go is. The battle in Pokemon Go is a GIF animation that just cycles. But yeah, I think that the integration, I think, will be more on the adventure side, personally, as our life evolves.
Yeah, I mean, I just pictured what you just said in my mind while you're picturing it, just the attacks of, like, let's say Dialga just moving forward like this in 3D animation, because that's all it does, you know, as it attacks.
Yeah.
I don't know, it would be cool for a minute, and after that I would be like, all right, I'm done with this. But before we wrap this up, guys, is there anything else you want to bring up, you want to say, or want to share, or anything exciting, or just anything whatsoever about, well, I will have one more question, I should say, is I just wanted to ask you, both of you, what would you recommend to people who are getting into this right now, or they may be already into this but not as competitive as any of us here, for example, and even though I'm not as much, but how could somebody get started here and actually get to Worlds? what would you recommend to somebody from hiring a coach to learning the matchups to anything? Like what you guys would start out as advice?
I would say information is king. The more you know, the better you can be. Like just flat out. If you know everything that is going to happen in the battle, you know how to calculate how to win or if you lose. So the way you get that information is, firstly, you need to favorite pvpoke.com. That needs to be your go-to reference. You need to live there. You need to watch guides on YouTube about how to navigate that. Coaches, there are amazing coaches like Caleb. Caleb does coaching. That's another way to learn the intricacies of battle. YouTube videos, just catching different people's battle strategies. Like Daniel's would be different to mine in terms of the strategy, but that doesn't mean I win and he doesn't. There's just different ways people play the game. So you just digest all of that. But I think the biggest thing to know is digest information. When I was learning, I had a notebook and I filled that thing up. The pages are like wrinkled from all the ink and flipping back and forth. I wrote everything down to learn everything. So that's what I would say, is just digest as much information as possible.
Yeah, I think the other thing is also, I've seen some people do this where they'll hire a bunch of coaches to get all the resources, but I think the main thing is as you're learning, regardless of actually where you're learning, or if you've already like won a regionals or a world championship, etc. Like I think everyone has room for improvement, and just being receptive to, the feedback, right? Obviously, like if you're getting told completely different things by different people, then that you got to kind of discern for yourself what makes the most sense. But especially from like a coach's perspective, try to like see that they're looking out for you, and, try to understand where they're coming from too. Because it's much easier to watch a battle than do the battle, right? Like a lot of times I'm coaching some of my students, I was like, after the battle, like you could have done this and that. But at the same time, like, it's easy for me to point out because I'm just sitting here watching, right? For you, like in the spur of the moment, you could obviously lose count of like the fast moves or etc. But I think, just seeking that feedback and taking it well is important. What I always tell my patrons, losing is learning, right? If you're not learning from your losses, then you're getting nothing out of it, right? I think losing is a very important lesson, and something I always do myself when I battle on stream is, go over my head, like what could I have done better there, right? Is there actually a win condition or not? And sometimes in this kind of game, there really isn't a win condition. You just get outmatched, or or your opponent made a really good play, and that'll happen. But I think just having that positive mind, that growth mindset, I think is how you really get to the point you're at. But yeah.
Yeah, one more thing to add on top of that. If you can't do coaching to get like high quality direct feedback as you're playing, one thing that I did, and I think it was just from the nature of wanting to create content, is I always watched my battles after the fact, because when I'm going to go make a YouTube video, I got to set all the battles up, watch them through to make sure I remember what happened, especially if I did the battles on Tuesday, but I'm recording on Thursday. It's like sometimes you forget what happens. So you gotta watch through, and that's what you can do, is you can kind of self-teach yourself, because if you watch a battle, you lost, but you don't know how you lost. Just rewind it, play it slow, figure out, okay, what could I have done there? Oh, instead of building up to the earthquake and then throwing hydro cannon, I just threw the hydro cannon so they knew not to shield, but I could have gotten a shield there if I built up to earthquake. Like that kind of mindset, just recognizing those little things. You can do it yourself, but I think it's going to be, if you don't want to get coaching, that's one way you could try to go about it, is just recording your battles and watching them after.
It's a really, really good point, because rewatching yourself it's a huge deal. I mean, during the battles go so quick, it just goes through your mind and you don't even realize all the mistakes you just mentioned. And when you rewatch it, it's crazy, because just very quick example, when I used to play hockey, for example, we spent lots of time every day when we were in training camp rewatching the tapes from older matches. And then we are like, oh crap, I did that? You literally have a realization that I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this, even though in your mind you think you have done it right, everything, but then when you rewatch it, you're like, oh crap, okay, now I got it. So the same here, when I rewatch my videos and I record, I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I can put this in the video. I made a huge mistake. But But anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here today. And again, if you have anything else you would like to share before we wrap this up, now is the time. Other than that, we're gonna wrap this up.
Nothing really big on my end that I can think of. I think I covered the gamut here today.
Get Shadow Alolan Marowak or reap the consequences.
That's true.
That's true. I'm on that too, but all day long I've been only seeing Sierra bosses.
Yeah, dude, I went out
for
for 2 hours today because I realized I didn't have any Shadow Cubones. I'm like, oh man, I really messed up.
Yep, same.
And I only got one Cliff, and then I have like an area where there's like 20 Pokestops within like a 5-minute walk, and none of them had team leaders. So I'm just like, my town is empty. Yeah, so I'm gonna be going out every day to get that. I got one today, but the IVs, they're terrible. But if I have to use it, I have to use it. But...
Yeah, same. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here. And guys, if you're watching or listening, you can always watch, you can always listen, vice versa. And all the information, in case you don't follow or know Zyonik and Kayla Peng, will be below. So make sure you click on that, give them a follow, give them a like, give them a sub, and make sure to come back for more, because I love having these two on the podcast. They have so much to share, and they contributed so much to this community. So guys, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you the next time.